Today we're doing a talent tree review from Star Wars Age of Rebellion for the Diplomat career. So, the Agitator talent tree is a professional asshole. Basically, they are described as a necessary evil where they turn fear of the Empire into anger. So they rile people up and incite riots and whatnot. And we know that because they have a talent called Incite Rebellion. Incite Rebellion. The name is a bit overstated. You picture giant crowds, and that really sounds more like a signature ability, that scale of influence. It's definitely a bit smaller than that. Rebellion sounds a bit dramatic. I mean, technically, yes, it is rebellion. I think larger scale than it actually is. But still, really helpful ability. You have a chance of making people say, this noise, and then rebel against whatever it is, whatever situation is going on. So I guess you could do a couple stormtroopers, maybe people who have captured you. Like, hey, the Emperor sucks, and he's like, oh yeah, he does suck, good point. Free you go. This could also be a great way to cause chaos in the middle of a fight. So that could be wonderful. Start a little mini rebellion of stormtroopers attacking stormtroopers and whatnot. Sounds great. Okay, so at its core, the Agitator is a talker who focuses mostly on coercion, which you don't see often enough. I just covered one not too long ago, or I will be covering one in the future, depending on when you're actually seeing these. Anyway, he was a Force user. This one, non-Force user. I think there's only one other tree in the game, non-Force user, coercive talker. Anyway, they get Scathing Tirade, that whole series of talents from basic to supreme version, sort of the debuffer version of Inspiring Rhetoric. And in terms of what it does, it's sort of the inverse of Inspiring Rhetoric. You just apply various debuffs to enemies. Could be wonderful, great help to any fight or encounter, and it just gives you another thing to do, another tool in your toolbox, another decision to make, or another layer of a decision to make. Anyway, more stuff to do, and it's a really great series of talents. Another pretty big noteworthy aspect to the character is the fact that they ain't scared as shit. There's nothing you can do to intimidate these people. I don't think there's a tree in this game that has more defense against the coercion skill. They get a fair amount of talking defense in general, but mostly it's versus coercion. You know, intimidation is their bread and butter. That's all they do. A sniper has a rifle, a pilot has a ship, they have coercion. So what you do, what you say to them, they don't care. In fact, that could be a lot of fun. Put your character into some situation where some thug meathead is gonna try to intimidate them. Especially if you have some little guy like what do they call it? Like a Chadra fan or something. Some tiny little species walk into a big gang hideout, walk right up to the door, and they're like, get lost or whatever. They pull out all these guns and knives and shit. Automated turrets come out. It does nothing to you, and then you're just like, boom. And they piss their pants in fear and run away. Awesome. The rest of the tree is kind of boring. Just basic help with different checks. Now their emphasis, absolutely without a doubt, is on coercion checks. They get 3 different types of talents that helps with your coercion checks in all sorts of different ways. One especially is just huge for you. But you also get a decent amount of help with deception checks and navigating criminal of the underworld type checks, a few of them, just in a more boring, uniform way, less diverse way. Anyway, so Agitator. It is hard to think of a tree that so caters to one skill so strongly. The slicer and computer skill, I guess, is probably the only one that focuses more on one individual skill and does it better and more completely in a variety of ways. So you're the slicer, you're the super hacker of scaring people. Overall, it is a coercion primarily, but also deception-based talker who can debuff and also navigate the criminal underworld pretty decently. So, as far as building your Agitator, absolutely coercion, or will for coercion, gonna be your best, well, maybe not. I mean, a 4 in will would be a great way to go, but then again, you do get so much help with the check itself, so much to the point that this is a good candidate for just a 3 in will, and perhaps a 4 in cunning to make up for the fact that you don't have as much help with it in the talent tree as you do with coercion. But it is worth putting a 4 in there because you do have enough help and career skills with a variety of cunning-based skills. So it's not going to go to waste if you go for a 4 in cunning and a 3 will. I like the 4-4 build for cunning and will for this, actually. Intellect is potentially a third important characteristic, probably a bit more so than the previous tree I talked about, Ambassador. They get a little talent help with a knowledge skill. Not a lot, but a little. So more easily they can justify a solid intellect. So if you can do a 4-3-3 build, not a bad way to go. I probably get the most bang for your buck if you go for a 4 cunning, 3 will, knowing that it might be a bit of time before you really make the most of your intimidation potential because you're relying on your talents, and then a 3 in intellect if you can do a 4-3-3. But of course, nothing wrong with going balls to the wall, going for broke, and getting a 4 in will for your coercion, and a 3 in intellect and a 3 in cunning. If you have to choose between intellect and cunning, which is the higher stat, cunning should be the one you go with every time. You're going to make the most of the tree that way. Hopefully at least get a 2 in intellect. A 1's gonna hurt you, but a 2 is fine. Because really it's just the 1 intellect skill that really matters thematically to the character, but if you can get a 3, you're going to add a bit more versatility, but not a high priority. So once again, the Age of Rebellion core book has a pretty solid tree. Above average, I would say it's actually a little bit better, definitely a better talent tree than Ambassador, not by a whole lot, but better overall. And it's better because it's more interesting to play than the Ambassador. You're essentially trading survivability for utility and flexibility. You're more likely to be useful to the group and contribute. And that's a big part of these types of games, feeling like a special little snowflake, doing your thing and having your moment to shine in the spotlight. More likely to be in that spotlight with this tree, the Agitator. But while it's better, it is slightly better, and the playstyle, of course, is different. It may not fit your character. If you want more of a debuffer who intimidates and lies and sort of a street level kind of a person, then Agitator is going to work for you. Ambassador, of course, focuses on the buffing and the charm aspect. So it's all on what kind of character you want to play, and they're both comparable quality to where that's what matters most. But yeah, good, above average, solid trees, both the Ambassador and Agitator. Next time we're going to talk about the Diplomat's Quartermaster.